Blog Talk Radio.
Thank you for tuning in to the R.I.F.T Network, with shows 6 days a week from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with shows such as the R.I.F.T Radio, Mystery, Rogue Talk Radio, Just Sort of Crazy, Project Afterlife, Night Moves Radio, and Awakening the Unknown. And now, for your featured show.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Rogue Talk Radio on this beautiful All Hallows Eve. I hope everybody is having a fun, spooky time. And I'm here with my co-host, Kirby. He's back from vacay. Hi, Curbs.
Hello. I'm back.
Did you have a good time?
I did. It was a great time. It was I'd never been to something like that, and it was fantastic. I had a blast.
That sounds cool. I love California anyway, but it's my home state, so
it was great.
Parts of it and beautiful.
We ended up going to Disneyland and Universal.
Universal, I wanted to go to. I've been to them both a long time ago, but not with all the recent cool stuff that been added to it. It's pretty amazing. And I want to let everybody know tomorrow night at the same time on the R.I.F.T Network will be Just Short of Crazy with Lisa Renaga and Amanda Ladd. And they are our carnies. They are both people who have been in the carnival business, and their show does a lot and talks a lot related to carnivals and the life of a carny and all the strange, unusual events that go on with that. So that ought to be an awesome show, especially on Halloween night. And we apologize to everybody about the murder mystery event. We had unforeseen circumstances happen, and we've had to call that off. So that's not going to be happening. But maybe we'll do something special again sometime. We just can't. We couldn't pull that off the way we wanted to because of some problems. And tonight we have an excellent guest, Bill Bean, a deliverance minister who has done numerous cases that have involved possession, which is always, a good pre-Halloween story, but they're not just stories, they're true life events that he has been through. And one of our prior guests, Jeffrey Scott Leeper, spoke of Bill Bean and said that Bill helped him in a time when he was close to integration with a demon. So this is going to be an amazing night, I think. A lot of information from him. Don't you think so too?
Oh yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting. I think that it's certainly timely too. But yeah, it's going to be great. He's got an extensive bio about how about the things that he's dealt with over the years, and I think that there's definitely going to be a lot to talk about.
I think so too. I think it's going to be amazing. And we have our Northeast Texas Paranormal Society and our little business, Buffy Ruckman and I have a business, The Skeleton Key, Metaphysical, and we have an event next week in Jefferson, Texas. And so we will be at a vendor table there. They're having some great speakers. It's History, Haunts, and Legends in the fall. They do a spring and fall. And they will be doing a investigation of haunted places. The closest I think of it is to when someone goes on a Christmas tour and they tour all the cool, beautiful houses with Christmas decorations. Well, this is a haunted one. So you get to go into these haunted homes and different, isn't that amazing? And different teams are stationed at the homes, and people come through in like 45-minute increments in groups, and we do many investigations with them and show them how to use our equipment and everything. And we've done this. This will be the third year, so amazing and fun that we are so blessed to be a part of that. Jody was on last week talking about it, and I'm going to go ahead and looks as though we have a caller in. I don't think that I was sent Bill's number. My bad. But let's see who it is, Curbs. We'll be wild and crazy.
All right. Roll the dice.
Hi, this is Sheila. Is this Bill? Okay. You just want to listen? I'll put you back into the queue, and you can listen. If you have a question, log into the chat and let me know. Thank you. There we go. There's live radio when you never know what's going on. Yeah. I asked him for his number. It's a little too close to the show. That should have been something and I may have it in here somewhere. You know how sketchy I could be. Special. That's special. I keep a lot of things moving at the same time, and some of them, they don't move where I want them to go.
Get a little off to one side.
Oh, yeah, always. I'm never, as they would call, on the plumb line. I'm not in the bubble, for sure, on a level. I'm a little off kilter. We know that. That's okay. I'm like one of those fun rooms that tilts a little. So you're always busy. Yeah. I think tonight's going to be amazing. I thought he was calling in a little early, but he may not call in. He thought he was supposed to call in at 20 minutes after, but I said 10. So we'll see what happens. But he's going to be an amazing guest, and we have
somewhere around there.
Go ahead. Yeah, tonight sometime. For sure.
He'll call sometime around in there. He'll call.
Yeah, it'll be good. Everybody just hang in there and just listen up. We're gonna talk paranormal probably, for a little while. I think that Kirby and I have been to some crazy investigations together, and I know that people that listen every week have probably heard some of them, but we have been through some crazy, amazing investigations together, and have gotten some really great evidence, especially EVPs. You were one of the best EVP listen backers that I've ever seen. I mean, you pick up on stuff that some of us just don't notice. So your EVPs at the Demorse House were amazing all the way around.
Oh yeah, that
we
was
were really
those
lucky
are definitely
with that
some of the. Yeah, I got a lot of good EVPs. That's certainly the best evidence I've ever found is EVPs. I've never caught a picture or a video or anything, but yeah. And some of my favorite ones were the ones we got at that location in Hugo, where I got them saying Buffy's name and singing and all kinds of stuff. Those were some nice, clear ones.
Yes. And as anybody that's watched paranormal shows, oftentimes when they put EVPs up there, then they put the words under it. That's the only way you would understand what it's saying, because it's kind of garbled. But I'm talking about some of the EVPs we've gotten, and not a lot, because it doesn't happen as often as people would like to think. They are clear.
Oh yeah, no.
There's no doubt what they're saying. They don't always make sense to us until we let the client listen to them, but they are clear. Otherwise, if we don't know what they're saying, what's the point? It's not evidence.
Right. And it's not always, I mean, it's always clear that it's saying something, but it's not always clear to us what's being said. And so it's the case with the Demorse House. You know, we didn't know actually what was said until we let the clients listen to it. So, but yeah, it's not always garbled like the show on TV, and it's not always perfect, but we nearly always got something.
Yes. And I'm going to take my sister there when she comes into town. She wants to see what it's like to do a little investigation. So her and my great niece, who's a teenager, we're going to the Demorse House and the jail. So that'll be interesting. They'll probably be scared in the first one, and we won't go to the second one. But that's okay. They want to see what it's like, what I do. I'll sit there and be quiet. How long will that last with a teenager? It doesn't last long with us. We usually start talking.
Right.
And the spirits chime in, don't they?
We're not quiet for very long usually.
No, we are long enough to give them a chance, and then we chat, and then we go back to quiet, and that's how we work. And sometimes when we're chatting, they come in, and sometimes they like talking when we're not.
Yeah.
So we just try it out. You know, nothing's written in stone with paranormal. It's all testing and learning and gathering evidence, and helping our clients. So we have a few coming up soon. One with a shadow figure, so entering with a child and a shadow figure following them. So I'm trying to gather more information on it. After event's over, we can focus more on the two that we have. So it's always important to get back to your client and reassure them that you are going to help as best you can to find someone who does help them. You're not able to be the one to do it. So that's how what we've learned along the way, cool tricks. And I also wanted to mention on Awakening the Unknown on December 29th, as many as we can get there at once, will be on her show, Susan and Bell and Jeremiah. They all three of the show called Awakening the Unknown on Friday. This is going to be the 29th of December. And so Northeast Texas Paranormal Society will be representing, talking about some of our stories and events and things that we've been through and how some of us have been affected by the entities that we've come in contact with, and, you know, some rule that's left us sometimes when what we learned along the way, how not to do that. The hard way, like a lot of paranormal teams do. They go, so Al, I should have really done more protection. You know, should have worn my paranormal condom. One day I'm going to have that on a shirt. I just think it. Yeah,
Yeah, you could sell that.
Wake up. I think so. It should say protect yourself from STDs, spiritually transmitted demons. There you go. You don't want any of those. Wrap it up. Wrap up yourself in a bit of white light to protect. Are you tired from it, Curbs? Bummer.
No, I was trying not to cough.
Oh, okay. I'll give you a banana.
I'm recovering from a cold.
We have a lot of cool stuff coming up. Yeah, I thought I had one yesterday. You know, I slept like just about 14 hours, and it felt better. I was out like it was a hot mess. So I'm hoping that our Mr. Bill. Oh no, Bill! Well, in about 5 minutes. His was Eastern Standard Time. So there's always a little confusion with people because on when we create the episode, we have to put it in Eastern Standard Time. And when we create the event, it changes it to the time zone that we're in. So the event is always Central, and the episode is always Eastern. So I usually question at some point, which one is it? Well, it's according to where you live. Let me tell you.
Yeah, and then I'm over here in Mountain Time,
here.
And it's even different for me.
What time does it start for you, Curbs?
7. I'm an hour behind you.
7. Oh. Yep. California is 2 hours behind. 2 hours behind. Yeah. Because when we're there, we're always tired and we're going, oh, yeah, well, it's 2 hours later in Texas.
Uh-huh.
It's a kind of thing. So we have some very important questions for Mr. Bean. Isn't there a Mr. Bean character?
Yes.
It was on.
Yeah.
Rowan
Atkinson.
Okay. Yes,
Mr. Bean.
Mr. Bean. Whether you say Mr. Bill or Mr. Bean, either way, you just say Bill Bean. I could do that again because it's representing 2 different. Oh no, Mr. Bill, and then that quirky comedian or comedic actor. He was very funny. But I have some questions for him. I think that are going to be interesting because if you've been through this many, severe hauntings as he has, we want to kind of know, does he wind up, how does he keep himself protected, and does he wind up with bringing any home, and how do you know his way? Everybody's way is different, and everyone needs to find what's for them. But if you get to listen to enough people tell you how they work it and what they use, you will find yours eventually. Hopefully before something horrible happens to you, before attachment. But I say you can't be too protected. Protected, no. Amulets, stones, calling whatever deity into, positive energies that you have contact with or pray to, or bring them in, bring them all, bring armies of them, because you just never know what you're going into till you get there. Yeah. And my house has a new visitor in it, a female that showed up recently. No, she's not negative. She just surprises me sometimes. I'm used to the one. Where does a new one come from? I don't know. All Hallows Eve,
I've
baby.
Never seen you before.
Everybody's they're wandering around going, I need a home. So I'm going to go to Sheila. It's okay. We're full. We're full at this end. You can move on.
Try the next house.
Tomorrow, did you have any special plans for the Halloween weekend prior to? We didn't do anything. I usually have a party, but I kind of pooped out on that this year, decided not to.
Oh. Yeah, no, I didn't have any plans, just stayed home. That's pretty much all that's going to happen probably. I don't even know if I'm supposed to. I don't know if I need to buy candy. I've never actually been in my apartment on Halloween night here. I don't know if I'm supposed to. If there's going to be trick or treaters or not.
That'll be interesting. Well, I know I won't have any. You know how far out I live. If they come out here, they deserve me to bake them something.
Yeah, you better have king-size bars if they make it out to you.
That's true. That's true. I usually only make up bags for my grandchildren, and now none of them eat as much candy as they did when they were littler, so I don't even do that anymore. I just chill out, man. I do some, positivity work and try to keep those spirits of that are coming through at the veil thinning time away. Stay away. We don't need any of that any more coming in. We keep them clear. Right. Do some blessings and spell work, that kind of thing. It's going to be interesting, but it always is. But tonight at midnight it starts. We were going to go to a cemetery, Bledsoe, which is one of the famous ones near here. Yeah, but it's supposed to rain and get all mucky, and it is one that's way out in the country and a little harder to get to. And I would hate to be stuck in a cemetery on a Halloween night.
Stuck in a cemetery in the middle of nowhere, Texas.
Yeah, that sounds like a bad plan, just waiting to happen.
If I remember right, there was no cell phone service.
Right. And there'll be a chainsaw noise. No. I probably could get that on my phone and scare everybody half to death.
Oh, yeah. Yep, I bet you could.
That would be a great prank.
But yeah, I'm just planning on staying home, doing whatever I want, I guess.
Watching scary stuff.
Maybe.
It's been a very good month for scary movies. I don't like them too. That sounds weird for a paranormal investigator. Everybody always asks me. They have these haunts around here, and in Reno, which is a town near here, not obviously Nevada, but Reno, Texas. They have that Reno like terror walk on
right
because they've really extended this walking trail and bicycle trail out here. And I always have my friends say, "Are you going?" Well, no, I don't like things that.
They do it on the trail?
Dress up and jump? Yeah.
I didn't know it was on the trail.
Oh, they do one now. Trail like a terror or something. And they're all over me to want to go with me. And I go, I don't know why.
All the way to Paris.
I will go into a haunted house with spirits any day over somebody in a costume jumping out at me in the dark. Me no like it. No.
Well,
and some of my good friends own the haunt. I'm not doing it.
Right. They have the coffin rides too, don't they?
Yes. And it's gotten big. You should see it, how they built it up. It's an actual building before it was just
I've
more
seen it on Facebook.
like a containment.
I've seen some pictures.
Oh, isn't it? Cool. It's awesome. And this year they're doing Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, it's quite an establishment. Yeah, it's a big operation now.
Yes, and it has those escape rooms. This year it has 3 different escape rooms, which were more. Now I like those, even though the serial killer was after us. I like the clue part, all that, and you figuring I got killed anyway, but it was faux. Obviously, I'm still here. But I do love those things, like TikTok and all. We went to one in Kansas. They're amazingly fun to take your family to. Maybe not the scary one.
Here. They're great.
Aren't they fun? I really like it.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody has to work together.
Yep.
I think we have our guest calling in.
All right.
Yeah. Are you excited? Can I get a hoorah? Here he comes. Howdy there, Mr. Bean.
Hi, Sheila. Hi, Kirby. How are you guys?
We're good. We don't know what we're doing. We're just waiting for you, dude.
Well, that's okay. Just
funny.
Go with the flow, and I'll do the rest, so don't worry about it.
I never worry too much about it. Thank you. Thank you for being our guest.
Not. No, I appreciate it.
Yeah, we go with the flow. We're all about improv.
We've got a lot to talk about tonight, that's for sure. I mean, there's certainly a lot to cover, and it's great to be with you, and we'll just start from the start. Well, usually what I do, and in these interviews is start from the beginning, and then it comes full circle. I'm very thankful to be in the position I'm in right now, God working through me to help other people to become free from all types of things that are evil and negative and not good for us.
Yeah. Yes, Jeffrey was talking about that when he was on the show before, and how you helped him when he was close to like the integration phase. That was amazing.
Well,
you recognized and helped somebody that, and
God.
Now he does some powerful work.
Absolutely, and I love him dearly, and I'm so happy for him. Glad that he's doing well, and I praise God for working through me to help him. That's what my life is all about, is helping people, and it is not my power; it's the power of God that works through me to help others. And it's the greatest thing in the world to know what your purpose and calling in life is.
It's true. Most people don't know that.
Yeah.
Well, for many years I sure didn't, and then God had put the calling on me, and I resisted it for quite a long period of time because I felt very unworthy, like it must be a mistake, like God must be kidding that someone like me could actually help other people. And then once I realized that God was not kidding, that this was a real calling, what I resisted for so long, now, there's nothing else that I'd rather be doing with my life than helping others.
I think that's amazing. So just a little question, how long have you been doing this? I know you're going to tell.
Well,
I'll let you tell your whole story.
Yeah, I have been traveling nonstop now for the last couple of years or more. It's just been an amazing journey. I mean, I travel so much now that there's times I wake up in hotel rooms and it takes me a few minutes to realize what city or town I'm in. It's I never envisioned that. I never thought that in my wildest dreams that I would be traveling around the country like this. But it's been quite an experience and quite a journey, and it continues. And again, the most important thing is helping people. And there are so many people in need. There's an endless amount of people, and people constantly come to me each and every day in some way, shape, or form. So it's all about helping people, and it's just amazing. And I also help people in other countries as well. I do Skype sessions internationally. So there are many countries around the globe that I've helped. People in those countries that I've helped, and God working through me to help them. So it's a great thing. But I started out as a victim, and so this is why God chose me to do what I'm doing now, because I couldn't be where I'm at right now and helping others had I not been there. So I was certainly a victim, and my family was destroyed by demonic forces, and I was nearly destroyed as well. So I've written 3 books, and in the first book, which is called Dark Force, I write about those things, that how it all began and where it began, and where it began actually was not correct. It was by the best of my knowledge and understanding at the time. But after I had written Dark Force, then I was told that it goes much, much further back than just moving into that house in 1970. And I was told that a family member had actually conjured those demons up many, many, many years ago. And those demonic forces came under the family and caused a variety of damage and many untimely deaths and tragic circumstances. And so after learning that, I'm convinced that those demonic forces actually led us to that house where evil was already present and manifest, not only in the home, but in the area. And we'll get into that in a second. So I feel that it was the perfect storm, in a sense, a perfect storm of evil to destroy my family and try to destroy me, because I feel that God had a purpose for my life before I ever came into this world. And the amount of supernatural divine and demonic experiences that I've had are off the charts. And I've seen and experienced things that a lot of people wouldn't even want to have a nightmare about. And so this is exactly why God chose me for this mission and journey. So I could not be here now and helping others had I not been there. So it was all a necessary part of the journey. Do I wish I could change some things? Absolutely, especially when it comes to the suffering of my mother, who suffered more than any other person I've ever seen in my life. So if I could go back in time and change that, I certainly would. But it was all part of the journey. And in Dark Force, I say that it began in 1970 when my family and I moved into a 3-bedroom ranch-style home located in Glen Burnie, Maryland, in a community called Herondale. And I was 4 years old when we moved in, and my first recollections were not good. You know, I was frightened. I knew something was off. I could feel it. And the house was semi-dilapidated, and it sat at the bottom of a downhill cul-de-sac, and there was a very large and deep ravine located behind it. And my dad, William Sr., was a contractor. He was a master carpenter, and he saw this as a restoration project, which he ended up doing quite a bit of work to it, making it look very nice. And my mother, Patricia Bean, was a homemaker, and I have an older sister, Patty, and a younger brother, Bobby, and so I was 4, I think she was 13, and he was 1 when we moved in there. And she, too, said that she had reservations, and my older sister said that she had reservations, and she was frightened, you know, by the house at first sight. And the inside was equally as ominous and foreboding. You would walk in through the front door into the living room, and it was very dark. I recall it being very dark in the house, even on the brightest of days. It was very dark in the house because the house had this dark brown paneling on the walls. And for anybody who'd like to see a few pictures of the inside of the house, you can visit billbean.net or billbeanministries.com and click on the photo gallery and see some of these photos for yourself, and you can see, you know, how dark it was and how dark the walls were. So you would come in through the front door into the living room. You would make a right down a long hallway, which had a tiled floor, a hard tile floor, and my brother and I shared the first room on the right. My parents had the second room on the right, and then across the hallway was my sister's room, the last room on the left. And that room is where I believe the portal, dimensional doorway, was located, one of them anyway, or the biggest. And that room constantly stayed cold, even on the hottest of summer days, and that is also the room where the door would open and slam for many repetitions at a time. So my sister was not there in the house with us for very long. And she would be the first to have a physical. Yeah, she would be the first to have a physical encounter. My mother was the first to have an experience in the house, and that took place shortly after moving in. And it happened while she was unpacking boxes and organizing in the living room. And my dad had taken us with him for the day to allow my mother to unpack and organize in peace. So she thought. It was during the course of this that she felt the presence come into the room, and she thought that it was my dad coming back in, you know, sneaking in to play a joke on her. And she spun around fully anticipating on seeing him, and her shock, nothing was there. So she was, as you can imagine, she was taken aback and unnerved and perplexed by all of these things, and then was eventually able to go back to doing what she was doing. And then shortly after that, my sister's bedroom door slammed shut by itself, and that was enough to make her go outside and wait until we returned. So that's where it began, and then it gradually escalated into raps, tapping on the walls. Faucets would turn on by themselves with such force that it would saturate the areas in the bathroom and kitchen. She'd make the beds in the morning and come back shortly thereafter and find them torn apart the door opening and slamming. Back then, you didn't have remote control. So we had this big TV set in the living room that you would have to press a button in, and it had a very heavy channel selector. And there were times that the TV would turn on by itself and something would just... And those channel selectors, you had to put effort into turning that dial, that selector. And something would turn that TV on and just flip the channel selector effortlessly. So foul odors would manifest, just horrible things, smell like rotted flesh or, just horrible, awful sulfur, awful smells like that. You would hear voices, and then they began to see apparitions. And so all of this activity gradually escalated into violent physical attacks on us from these demonic entities. And again, it greatly contributed to the destruction of my family. Either my parents lived to see the age of 50, and a lot of other family members died in mysterious deaths or tragic deaths.
So you didn't know anything that you had to know the house prior to moving into it. What was going on? It all unraveled as you had lived in it, as this story, right?
And you kind of broke up on me there. You were asking, did they have any history of the house?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
okay.
I mean, your parents are home. My phone does that every now and then. I live way up in the... So your parents bought the home, but no,
really bad.
Okay, maybe I'll have to step out for a minute.
It's
your
getting,
parents
it's
had no
pretty
prior
bad now.
knowledge of anything going on there, right? Okay.
Not to my knowledge. Again, I was 4 years old at the time, so I'm nothing to my knowledge that they knew any prior history of the house. But the area has an interesting history, and I have a friend who wrote a book on the area, and he was a former police officer, and he did a lot of research into not only the home that we lived in, but other homes that were affected by this as well. And there were many paranormal supernatural events that had taken place in that period of time through the area, and still to this day. And I've been back there several times as a deliverance minister / exorcist to help other families in need right in that very area. So John D. Romine is his name, and he wrote a book called The Enigma of the Wishing Rock, and it talks about the events, the paranormal supernatural events that had taken place over the years of his career as a police officer. So he had a case file, and many case files compiled over the years, and he traces it back to this structure located 2 miles south from where our house was, and it's in the middle of the woods, and it sits alone in the middle of the woods, and doesn't match up with anything else. It looks like it was placed there. It's a gigantic boulder-like structure called the Wishing Rock, and according to John's research, Native American tribes used to gather there and have special ceremonies there because they said that this boulder and the things around it had great power. Now, perhaps this area around the structure, this boulder-like structure, was a major gateway or dimensional doorway or vortex or whatever, and maybe these entities were coming through, right there. But whatever the case may be, the area was greatly affected and is still affected to this day. So my house was one of many that were, under siege by these entities. But what made it worse for my family and I was already having the demonic presence on the family because of the conjuring of the relatives from many, many years ago. So that is what made our situation more severe than anybody else's, is because of that factor alone. So, you combine those two things together, and you have a gigantic storm of evil, and that's what we dealt with for quite a long time.
Wow. Can you hear me better now? Am I okay, or am I still breaking up?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Much better.
Okay. I was wondering, how far back did this go that you had family members in? What was the activity they participated in? Were they into devil, Satanist, witchery?
That's what I was told. That's what I was told, and it was many, many years ago. My guess would have been either in the 40s or even before that. So my mother was born in 1937, so it would have been somewhere, in that era or even before she was born. So it was something that goes way, way back, but something that was on the family like that for many, many years. And then I found out that my mother and her siblings had paranormal supernatural experiences in their childhoods as well. And also I found out that my mother and her family actually lived in that area for a period of time. So she had already had exposure to the area before we even moved there. Yeah, so there was a lot going on there. And so, again,
that's a combination. That was, I understand now. Yeah, that was like you already, definitely had a negative energy affecting or waiting its moment with your family, and then you move into an area that is highly active, and then into a home that's had activity, and it all, like you said, is just the perfect ugly storm there. That's
absolutely
scary.
Well, it was, and it was not only that. It was physically horrific as well. I suffered many attacks as a child, beginning at the age of 5 in 1971, that carried on for, I'd probably say at least 8 years or more, and they were horrific, and things that would happen, which happened in the course of a few minutes, I'm sure, seemed like it was lasting for hours. And though I suffered greatly in that way, my mother's suffering and torment was far greater than anything that I ever had to endure. And it just, in writing my book, Dark Force, it was very, very difficult to write because I had to relive those things, and I had to put myself back into those situations. And it was very painful. It was very, very, very tough to do, and I had to rely on my faith in God to get me through, because I felt like God was calling me to do that in the hopes of not only sharing the story but helping other people as well. So that's where it began. And then the A Haunting series, right around the time that I was writing the book, the A Haunting series had found out about the story. And they were a new series, and they had just finished their first season, or were at the end of their first season, and they contacted me and wanted my story for season 2. And this was in December of 2005. And so we started talking back and forth, and I agreed to do it. And I asked my siblings, and at first they were not interested in being involved. They still have some pain and issues, associated with everything that had taken place. But then we got together one Saturday afternoon and started talking about all of this, and they started telling me things that I'd long forgotten about, some things that I wasn't even aware of. And so and it was the first time that we had sat down and shared all of this information with each other ever. Because when people have these kinds of traumas, they can't talk about it. They can't sit down. You just can't go there. It is too painful to sit down and try and open this up and go there. So that was the first conversation in all of those years that we had. So then after that, they agreed and decided that they wanted to be a part of the A Haunting episode. And so that's what happened. So A Haunting shot the episode, and it aired on September 7th, 2006. And it's one of the most watched and rebroadcast episodes in the history of the series. And I'm the only person in the history of the series that has a reoccurring role, and that is due to my case files now as this deliverance minister, exorcist, spiritual warrior. And so it's just amazing how it all happened. And I'm very grateful to Tricia Dozier, who's become a very good friend of mine over at A Haunting. And I'm grateful to Discovery Channel as well for airing it. And now the show is, been seen on Discovery at TLC and Animal Planet and many other stations, Destination America, and many other stations like that. And this is what put me on the map as far as becoming a public figure. So once the show aired, people started contacting me. And some people were contacting me, wishing me well and all that kind of stuff and praying. And other people were contacting me for help. At that point in time, I was not on my journey where I am now. I had no thoughts or inclinations about being this spiritual warrior, not at all. My thoughts were that I just want to be free and go on and have a peaceful life and not have to deal with this. And at the time, so this came out, the show aired in 2007, or 2006, I'm sorry. So from 2006, from September 7th, 2006 to 2008, I was still dealing with some supernatural occurrences because of writing the book and then having the show come out. It kind of opened the doorway. But then in 2008, my wife and I got baptized together, and it was the greatest day because I had decided to truly make God first in my life. And my whole life changed after that. And that is when the calling came on my life to become this spiritual warrior and deliverance minister. And again, I resisted it for the longest time because I felt unworthy. I felt intellectually inadequate because I had to quit school in the 8th grade after the tragic passings of my grandmother and then 2 months later my mother. And so I had to quit school in the 8th grade. I lied about my age and I went to work for a construction company. And I had to grow up very, very quickly. And I grew up on the streets and I grew up with the worst of the worst people. A lot of those people are dead or they're in prison. And I could have very easily have been dead or in prison. Been in many life-threatening situations, and I was going down some bad roads in that way as a form of not wanting to live and really trying to escape reality. So my life could have been vastly different. But through it all, God had this plan for my life, and it wasn't until I decided that I could do better and be better that the cycle was broken. So for many of those years, I was in a fear-based, trauma-based way of thinking and living. So when we have these types of things that come upon us that are very traumatic, and you have this fear associated with that, of course, well, that makes you putty in the hands of the devil and his demonic forces, because it's fear what draws them. That's what draws them. They feed off of fear. So it requires
I agree.
a mindset change. Yeah, it's the truth. And it requires a mindset change.
Mm-hmm.
And so once the baptism took place and I felt that I had made my everlasting covenant with God in making him first, and keeping him first, that's when my life changed, and my life has been abundantly blessed ever since. My life is not perfect. Nobody has a perfect life. But I have a very good, very happy, and a very blessed life, and I'm very thankful to God for that. So everything changed there. Once my mentality changed, and I went from being in the fear-based, trauma-based way of thinking and living into what I call warrior mode. And I urge this and stress this to people all the time. If we change our mindset and we step out of that fear-based, trauma-based place into the uncharted waters of faith, strength, and courage, then we eliminate the fear. And if we eliminate the fear, we are kicking the devil and his minions right in the teeth out of our life. And that's exactly what happened for me. So what happened also was that I decided to do a lot of studies, and I studied the Bible. It took me several years to really come to know the Bible. And again, I praise God and I thank Him for this, because when I first started to try and read and study the Bible, it might as well have been in Chinese. I couldn't understand any of it. It was the King James Version, the Old English Version. And it was very, very difficult, to the point to where I was ready to just give up on the whole thing. And I prayed. And I said to God, Father, if you've really called me for this, I need your help. I need you to help me to understand this and prepare me for this. And so it wasn't long after that I began to understand it. And what helped me greatly also was that I was studying the Bible, and there's a big difference between reading it and studying it, believe me. And so I was studying it, and I would also put on headphones. So if I'm reading Psalm 91, I would put headphones on and listen to it. So I was getting it visually and audibly, and that helped me to retain and remember the scriptures. And so this was quite a process. It was not an overnight thing, and it required hard work and really setting a goal that, this is what I'm going to do. And so I studied the 66 books of the King James Bible, and some of the other 534 that were left out, and ancient history, ancient religion, you name it. I have studied it, and God has blessed me with wisdom and knowledge far beyond anything that I could ever imagine in my life. So He has blessed me with the intellect, and that gave me the confidence to feel that I could be somebody in helping others. And that, once my confidence grew, in knowing that I had this knowledge and wisdom, I always had the faith, strength, and courage. I always had that. But I needed reassurance that I could be intellectual, in the sense that I could possess wisdom and knowledge that would help me in these battles. And that's exactly what happened. And so then I became an ordained non-denominational minister and never looked back. And it's just been an amazing journey ever since. People have come to me, again, from all over the world, all walks of life. You would be shocked at some of the high-profile people that have contacted me for help, and then people who have been down and out with nothing. So I've covered just about every spectrum and every type of person there is out there that has needed help. And I'm very, very blessed. I'm very, very thankful, and I praise God for working through me to be a blessing to others. But it's just amazing when I look back, because things could have went so differently in dealing with those types of situations of this just horrific demonic oppression which came over all of us. And my dad, backing up on this a little bit now, taking you back.
Yeah.
My dad was the type of man that was blessed in so many different ways. He had the ability and capability to do whatever it was he wanted in life and could be successful at it. He could build a house from the ground up, or he could tear an engine apart, put it back together. There was nothing that if he put his mind to it, and he really focused on, he could do it. And so he was a very, very rugged individual. He was a man's man, very strong individual. He was a man used to being in control of any and every situation. So when this all started, and he too was having experiences but was not sharing it with anyone, and that eventually, years later, shared it with my mother's mother, my beloved grandmother, Dora Harvey. He shared some of the things with her, but he kept this to himself in the beginning, and I think that he was just absolutely beside himself, because he suddenly found himself in a situation that he couldn't control. and there was nothing that he could do. And my parents believed in God, but were not churchgoers. So we had never attended church as children. We were never baptized, nothing like that. So we didn't have that type of structure. So they didn't have a church or a pastor that they could turn to, and my dad wouldn't have anyway. You know, my parents both were very proud and private people, so that wouldn't have happened. And back then also, you didn't have people like me, and you also didn't have the ghost hunter groups or any of that kind of stuff. So it was very, very limited, and you had to be careful, because if you talked about these types of things back then, my goodness, you were labeled as crazy. You know, you were unstable, you were insane. People just, it was very few and far between, and if someone was having these types of experiences, they certainly were not going to go around and broadcast it. I remember many times my mother saying to my brother and I, don't you talk about this, you know, don't you go to school and tell anybody about this. And for the longest time, we did. And we missed a lot of school as children because we were sleep deprived. We were just, I mean, it was so difficult to get sleep. I can recall many nights laying there and having the covers pulled up over my head, knowing that something was there. And I would close my eyes and try and go to sleep, but yet found myself opening my eyes every few seconds because I knew something was there. And so we were just so deprived of sleep, and we didn't have any peace. And so what had happened was, with my dad being under this type of attack in his own way, to where he could not control this, I feel that it led him to escape reality per se by starting to spend time in the bar rooms, and he was drinking very heavily, and this began to cause problems between he and my mother, that he would come home sometimes late at night in these drunken stupors, and then they started to have these arguments, and then he began to physically abuse her on a regular basis between 1973 and 1975, delivering horrific beatings to her. And this is just unimaginable trauma when you are a child seeing this, and then also having these demonic supernatural experiences. At that point in time, I'm also being physically attacked by these demonic forces. So you couple that with seeing your mother being absolutely just beaten to a pulp many, many times. This is off the charts type of trauma. And so for many years, I carried a burning hatred towards my dad. And I was so thankful that I was able to forgive him before his untimely death. He was shot to death in 1987. And so I was very thankful that I was able to forgive him. And I want to tell people that no matter what the situation is, and I know it's easier said than done, if we are harboring hatred towards someone, forgiveness is as much for us as it is for the person that we are forgiving. And when we forgive, it doesn't mean we have to be in their circle again or be buddy-buddy or lovey-dovey or whatever it may be. But It is necessary to forgive, because when we hold on to that kind of hatred, it is like a spiritual poisoning. It's a spiritual cancer. And so I urge people, and believe me, I understand, it's easier said than done, but I always urge people to forgive. So I can recall at the age of 8, having to run to a neighbor's house and get the police called on my father because he is just viciously beating my mother. Now, that said, I have no doubt, based on what I witnessed, that these demonic entities were able to infiltrate and fuel his rage towards my mother while he was under the influence of alcohol. So we as human beings, we operate on frequency and vibration. So if our frequency and vibration is on high, things are positive. Life is good. We are moving forward. And again, doesn't mean that life is perfect, because everybody has a set of issues and challenges in life. But when we are on high frequency, high vibration, life is generally good. But when we're on low frequency, low vibration, life sucks. And it is like a black cloud is over the person's head. Nothing ever goes right. Nothing ever will. There's always a problem, a situation, a drama, and never an answer. And I have been there, and my family was there, and when we can make this worse by indulging in alcohol and drugs. So when we are under the influence of alcohol, and look, I have nothing against anybody having a few drinks socially or whatever, but when a person becomes inebriated and they get into a drunken state, now they are wide open for demonic attacks, because the person's frequency and vibration is lowered. Therefore, they become vulnerable and susceptible for demons to come in. And they certainly will, and that's what was happening in my father's case. He was, in these drunken stupors, and these demonic entities were able to come in and fuel his rage towards my mother. And that's why the beatings were so severe. And there were many times that he said he didn't remember anything at all. And think about this, to further this point, think about when a person, and I'm sure you've had friends in your life, or maybe family members, that have said, wow, I was so wiped out last night. What did I do? What did I say? And then when you tell people what they did or what they said, they don't believe it, So, again, when a person has lowered their frequency and vibration to that level and to that low, when they are in that drunken stupor and inebriated to that point to where the frequency and vibration has now gone into that lower realm like that, something else takes over. It is a demonic external force that takes over. And so the person really doesn't remember. It's almost like they are disconnected, and now this external force is taking over and carrying out the acts through this person's body. So I do not excuse...
It's found them weak at that point. I mean, the alcohol has made them a weaker person. And also people think that when they're depressed about something, that alcohol is going to help, when it is a depressive. And when you're a happy person and you get a little buzz, you're still a happy person. But when you're depressed about something, it doesn't help. All it does is depress you more.
Exactly right.
But
exactly
people don't
right.
understand that. Yeah.
Well, it's a deception. So, again, we must be, for me in my life, I am a truth seeker. So I seek the truth. So I know the truth, so I can speak the truth, so I can teach the truth. So the truth is the truth. And sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. And any substitute for the truth is a lie. So the truth of the matter is that we must always thirst for knowledge, because knowledge is power, and power perceived is power achieved. And so this is certainly one of the mantras in my life. I always thirst for wisdom and knowledge, and I always seek to broaden my intellect and my wisdom on many things. I always want to have my eyes wide open, and I stress that and urge that with other people as well. So if people could study this and truly understand this for what it is. And look, I've been there. I grew up on the streets. I used to do drugs. I used to drink. I was a very violent individual when I drank. And so God worked miracles for me there, and I called out to God and asked God to take the drug use away from me and the drinking. And God did. And I never had an urge for any of it again. And I'm so far removed from all of that garbage, it's like it happened to somebody else. But I have been there, so I understand it. I can recall talking like we're talking right now, and then having a few shots of Old Granddad or Wild Turkey or Jack Daniels or whatever, and then all of a sudden I could feel this spiritual force coming over me. There was nothing that I could do to stop it, and then I become I felt like I was becoming very violent. And that's what makes people dangerous. Because when these external forces come over the person in that way, now you have something else at work, and bad things can happen. And so believe you me, I know it from experience, and now I know it also as a spiritual warrior and deliverance minister. And so I praise God for blessing me with the experience and the understanding of how these things work. So I urge other people, you don't have to believe a word I'm saying here. I urge you to do the research for yourself, and may your eyes become wide open, as wide as saucers, after you do some of this research and have this understanding of what life really is and how we can really get into some pitfalls. So, having gone through all that, and again, I'm not excusing my dad's behavior. He made decisions, conscious decisions to engage in these types of things, just as I had done the same thing. So there was a free will and conscious decision that was made to do this in the first place. But then I say that these external forces were right there to aid and abet and to increase and intensify. So that's exactly what was happening. And he left us in 1975, and thank God he left, because had he not left, I'm convinced that he would have killed my mother. And again, I love my father. I forgive my father. He was a good man. He was a victim of circumstance, just like the rest of us. And so, we're all guilty of something. There's no perfect one that walks the face of the earth. So we all make mistakes, right. and we're all guilty of something. So I certainly forgive him, and I love him, and I'll see him again in God's heavenly kingdom. And I know my mother forgave him as well. And so after he left, it was very, very difficult, to say the least, because he had left us and moved to Florida. My mother, what I failed to mention here, is that through all of this, my mother was in very poor health. She was suffering from high blood pressure, which led to a series of strokes, which ultimately led to kidney failure. So my mother was in very, very poor health the entire time we lived in the house. I had many illnesses as well the entire time of living in the house. And so my mother was so embarrassed and ashamed that she couldn't work, and we had to go on welfare. And so we grew up very, very poor. Just eating and having necessities of life was very difficult. We ended up losing the house. The house was auctioned off in a public auction right in the front yard. And the man that bought the house in the public auction was aware of the situation, my mother's situation, and allowed us to stay there on a pay-as-you-can, when-you-can basis. And that's how we were able to stay. And the most frequently asked question is, why did you stay? We stayed because my mother, again, was a very proud and private woman. And my grandmother, my mother's mother, wanted us to come stay with her, but she and my step-grandfather shared a one-bedroom apartment, so my mother was not going to burden them with us. And my mother's sister wanted us to come stay there, but she had 8 children and a husband. And furthermore, each and every one of us came under demonic oppression at various times while living there. And even my beloved mother, whom I love very much, and again, we'll see her again in God's heavenly kingdom, she too, there were times that we could be talking just like we're talking right now, and then all of a sudden something would come over her and her face would change, and it was not her, and this evil look and grin would come over her face, and a growl, and it would last for several seconds, and then she would just snap out of it and like nothing. So each and every one of us came under this type of oppression many times over the years. And it's just mind-boggling when I truly didn't understand the gravity of the whole situation and everything that had taken place until I sat down to write Dark Force. You know, again, I've written 3 books, and my formula for writing is that I outline and define, and this is something that I take from my cousin Philip, who had no idea that those words would stay with me. One day when we were raking leaves in the yard, and to this day, I can't stand raking leaves, and I was not enthused about raking those leaves, and he kept saying to me, outline and define, outline and define. And that's something that really stayed with me for my entire life. So I thank you for that. And I've thanked you many times over the years for that. And so that's how I do it in writing. So I outline and define. So I say to myself, I am going to spend 2 to 4 hours every day and or night on this project until it's done. I don't care how I feel. I don't care what the situation is. This is my goal. This is how I will do it, and I will not stop until it is done. You know, I've met some people over the years that have said to me, I'm writing a book. And I say, oh, that's great. Yeah, I'm getting ready to start doing it. And I say, all right, fantastic. I'm going to start it next week. So then the weekends and the following week comes and that person says, well, I had a little setback. I'm going to start next week. Then a few weeks go by and they say, well, next month I'm going to start that. And then 6 months go by. I'm getting ready to start it. Then a year goes by. I got to do that. It never happens because when you're doing something, and whatever it is, if you are setting a goal, then you have to say, that's it. I'm outlining and defining this, and I'm going to put this into action ASAP. Not next week, not in 2 weeks, not next month, not next year, now. The time is now. When we put our, goal before us, the time is now. Time is a terrible thing to waste. And furthermore, if we do not jump right into something, when we set that goal, it will not get done.
I agree. I'm one of those put it off people, so I needed to hear that.
Well, there you go. Sheila, outline and define.
I will never forget those words.
Strength courage. So, if anything, if you took anything from anything in this interview, hopefully you took that and you'll take that ball and run with it.
I'm going to. I'm not. This is a procrastinator's worst nightmare. Is someone telling them, do it, do it. Yeah, I agree. I think that it's just sit and start whatever. Just do it.
That's it.
I've procrastinated on something
until it's done.
No. Yeah. Well, I have a friend who does this on projects, and she becomes a little. We call it obsessed, but when it's not really, it's because she starts it, she has to finish it, and that's the way to be. You start it, and that's it. There's nothing else.
Yeah, that's it.
Because
if you get distracted or sidetracked, you are going to get knocked off of your project, and then God knows when you'll get back to it. And I've seen that and heard that so many times from so many different people over the years, and so. I guess my whole approach is one of intensity and drive and power, and it's the power of God, and I thank you and praise Him for it. But, again, you're talking to a person that comes from a fear-based, trauma-based background to where I was exposed and lived in this kind of fear and trauma on a daily basis for my entire childhood. It was so bad that if my mom had to use the bathroom, and if it were just the two of us in the house, I would wait outside the bathroom door until she came out. I mean, that's how bad it was. And recently, my brother told me a story, and my brother, great person, my sister and brother, love them both dearly, close with both of them. They're great people. They still have emotional scars from what has taken place. And my brother, more so than her, he just holds things in, and it's very difficult for him to talk about these things. But he mentioned something to me about a month ago or so. I was shocked when he said it. because usually it would take me to bring the situation up in order for him to give any response or thought into the events that had taken place. But he came out of the blue with something telling me that apparently I was staying over at my grandmother's house, which I did. My mother's mother, she lived about a mile away, she and my step-grandfather, and I was very close to her, and there were times that I would spend the night over at her house, her apartment. And apparently on one of these nights, my dad had come home in a drunken stupor and had entered in through the front door, and a force had picked him up from around the throat and threw him through the front closet doors. And this is a story that I did not know about, and for all those years I didn't know about it, and he shared it with me, and he said there's plenty of other things I could tell you as well. Well, I'm not going to press him, and he'll get to it in his time to share some more things that have happened to him over the years. But another story that he shared with me was that there was a day that I had gone to school. He had stayed home from school. He was in the house with my mother. He was in our room. My mother was in her room. I believe she was ironing something. And the entities had turned on the faucets in the bathroom, and they both were coming out of the room. I guess they were going to turn the faucets off when they heard a loud crash, like this tremendous sound of breaking glass. And so they both rushed up the hallway. So in going up the hallway, you would make a right, and that would take you into the dining room, and the back door was off of the dining room. And so the back door had a storm door in front of it. So now this is daytime, and the back door was open. So the storm door was closed, and the storm door had a screen in the top part and the glass in the bottom part. And so they race up the hallway, and they make a right to into the dining room to find that something had blown out the back glass out of the storm door and had blown it out from the inside. So glass was all over the pavement, the back porch. So this force had blown the glass out from the inside of the house, and the glass was on the outside.
Oh, my gosh. So it's so frightening. It's something that most people can't wrap their mind around, really. I mean,
my goodness. I've seen my poor mother abused like you wouldn't believe. I mean, there's the first battle that I engaged in against these demonic forces. I was 13 years old, 1979, and it had taken place right after my mother was physically assaulted. Something picked her up from the back of her neck and threw her through the air in her bedroom from one side of the room to the other. She landed on her makeup table, and she was cut open and scratched and bruised and marks on her. And at this point in time, we had a priest involved. He was involved for the last 16 months that we lived there. Now, my family and I are not Catholic, but my mother's stepfather was. And he went to his church, and they sent a priest out. I very much appreciate Monsignor Auer, his efforts in trying to help. And they got to the point where we had a number we could call him 24/7. He was frequently coming back to the house, and he was bringing mason jars full of holy water. And on this day, after seeing my mother attacked and after being a victim for so many years, since the age of 5, so from 5 to 13, I was just being victimized physically, mentally, spiritually, and physically, to the point that on this day, I said enough. And I went from being the little scared kid and victim into this warrior. That's where it all started. And I picked up a Bible and a jar of that holy water, and I was enraged. I was just, I was so angry at, what had just taken place with my mother. And this was, one of many times that she'd been physically assaulted like that. But that was just the final straw for me. And I just had this, I call it holy anger. I was in a rage. And I recall And my mother at that point in time had a new man in her life named Richard, and Richard was very much like my father, man's man. He was a former boxer. He wasn't afraid of anyone or anything, but yet was physically assaulted many times in the house, was terrified to be in there, and he was part of the haunting episode describing some of these things. And Richard was present, and my grandmother was present, and my mother's sister, my Aunt Joyce, she was present, and her boyfriend. And so there were 5 adults. My brother was outside playing at the time. And so here I was, 13 years old, and there were 5 adults with me. They were terrified. I should have been terrified as well. I was angry. I had had enough of this. I was enraged. And so I was calling these things out, demanding them to show themselves. Now, where I made my mistake was, had I known then what I know now, it certainly would have been a different outcome. But my mistake was I should have been binding them and casting them out and asking God to come and bring his giant warrior angels to carry these things off and deposit them back in the pits of hell where they belong. I'm calling them out, demanding them to show themselves. And as I'm doing this, it was like a scene from a horror movie. The house started to vibrate. Things were falling off the walls. Doors were opening and slamming. I mean, this was happening for real. And everybody was terrified except for me. And the adults were hanging very closely behind me as I'm going up this hallway, screaming and shouting to the top of my lungs. And at one point, in the living room, several feet in front of me, now the adults are behind me, and several feet in front of me, these entities did appear, and there were 4 entities that appeared in greenish beams of light. And the first was a figure that had black hair, black beard, very chalky white skin, black suit, and black eyes. And the second entity had curly red hair. It was like close, though, like close, real close to the head. Curly red hair, chalky white skin, a long scar down the left side of its face, black eyes. The third entity was a female, long black gown, long dark hair, sharp facial features, again, chalky white skin. Then the fourth entity is what I call the dark force entity, which was a hooded entity, a black form, hooded entity that had glowing red eyes. And we saw them clearly for several seconds, and then they just dissipated. They didn't just suddenly vanish. They just dissipated. And as they dissipated and the light dissipated and faded, everything got calm in the house. And then we left there and went to Richard's house for the night. And that was the beginning of the end. Wasn't long after that we woke up one day in 1980 to the smell, the pungent odor of burning wires, and every electrical appliance in the house had burned up at the same time. And one of my brother's pets was found dead. And a lot of times through the years, we had many dogs. And some of those dogs were mysteriously killed, or they would go insane, just simply vanished. And again, on this day, my mother found one of the pets dead, and it was sad. I'm telling you this.
You are telling you these stories.
Yeah, I'm telling you this right now as a deliverance minister, and I've helped hundreds, maybe thousands of people all over the world. I've lost count. I'm contacted every day of my life from someone or many who need help. That is my life. So I'm telling you this now. Out of all of the cases that I have dealt with, and I have dealt with some severe cases. I just dealt with a severe case this past Friday. But out of them all, what we suffered and sustained over that period of time is more severe than anything that I have ever known of in my years now as a man of God and a deliverance minister. It is the truth. We endured this. How we endured it for so long, it's mind-boggling. But at the end of this, after finally leaving the house, left much of the decor. We just took our personal belongings, and we ended up moving in with Richard, my mother's fiance. They were going to be married. And wasn't long after that, the two tragedies took place, and that was the sudden passing of my beloved grandmother, Dora Harvey, from a sudden series of heart attacks, and then 2 months later, my beloved mother, Patricia Bean, died from a cerebral hemorrhage at the age of 44. Both of these deaths, and other deaths as well, I have no doubt that these demonic forces had a hand in them, because we were all under so much stress and pressure, and from the constant torment, we were defeated in mind, body, and spirit. We were just hanging by a thread to where it probably wouldn't have taken a whole lot more for us all to be demonically possessed, fully possessed. I mean, that's how bad it was. And so it was very sad and tragic that, finally my mother is able to get out of the house and then shortly thereafter, leaves this world. And so that was the beginning of the end for me, in a sense, to where I have to tell you that I had a premonition about this, like 6 months before their deaths. I had a premonition about it, and it disturbed me so bad that I prayed and asked God to take me first. Take me, because I wouldn't be able to bear the loss of my mother and grandmother, because they were the two closest people to me in my life. And so, God's will and plan was different from what I wanted or prayed for, and it just put me in such a bad place that I didn't want to live anymore. I lived my life on the edge for many years seeking death, and I believe that God kept death from me. He kept me protected for this very moment in time now as a humble servant for him and a fierce warrior for him. But I have to tell you that I was so empty and so depressed and so lonely and so just beyond despair, to where I did not want to be in this world anymore. And so I lived that way for such a long time. And then it wasn't until I decided that I could do better and be better, that's when my life changed. So you guys are talking to a living, walking, breathing miracle from God. And I can never thank God and praise him enough for what he's done for me, for what he's doing, and for what he's going to do for me. So this is why God selected me to be this man that helps people, because I can walk into any situation and have this instant connection with a person that is being victimized, because I've been there. So I could be this great hotshot that, is just the greatest thing going, but if I've never had the experience and I walk into someone's house, we can't relate, because I haven't had the experience. So therefore, nothing's going to happen, because this person can't relate to me. So when people suffer, these horrible tragedies and traumas, they don't trust so easy, and they don't open up so easy. But it is much easier for a man like me to go into a situation like that, because the person knows that I've been there. Therefore, they can open up because I have been there and they can trust me. So, again, this is all part of God's perfect plan, and everything in life means something, and everything in life is for a reason. So we all have a journey in life, and I find that those with the greater callings in life suffer the most.
That's amazing. I mean, it really is an amazing story. True life story. No, it is a story, but it is your life story, and anyone else might have buckled under the same conditions, and many probably have, and folded and given in to the negativity, and you did for a while, but it wasn't your journey. It wasn't your journey to stay on that path of destruction. So I always think it's absolutely amazing to me when the powers that be let you know that this is not. I've been to that point where I just wanted to go, I'm done. I have medical issues, and when the second one hit me, which was leukemia, I was done. I was absolutely just handing it over. I'm done. I can't fight this battle. I just got done fighting another one, and I wasn't going to. And it was clearly stated to me that this is not your time. This is just your journey. So I woke up with a complete different attitude the next day, like, blank you, cancer. I'm fighting this battle. I'm just saying.
I pray that you're doing well now, Sheila. How is everything now? Are you in good health now?
Oh, it's amazing. I have to tell you, it's been a 5-year battle, and just recently, for the first time in those 5 years, my lab work has came back at a normal range. And
praise God! I'm glad to hear that.
I can't be more thankful. It brings me to tears to think about what people go through spiritually, and I did have a rough childhood. My dad was not the best of people. I don't know that everybody that's mean is a demon, has a demon involved with it, but it was alcohol involved, and so I had a lot of rough times, and then brought me to my wonderful husband of 42 years of peace and kindness and love. And love. I mean, we met at 14, and I knew it the moment I saw him. That's how and everybody
amazing?
Mocked me that. Yeah, I think it is. I knew that he. Let me. The best way I can put it was I knew that he would not allow me to continue that negative behavior that began, or I'm sure it was before my father, generations back, of children beating them and owning them, but that was not going to fit in the world of the man that I loved. So something was going to have to change, and that something was me.
Isn't that amazing, though? And so you've had quite a journey yourself, and I praise God for healing you, and we ask God now, Father, I ask you, by your mighty power and your mighty and holy name, in Jesus' name, to keep your healing and favor over Sheila. And I ask that you bless her and her husband and her family with an abundance of love, peace, joy, good health, and prosperity for life. And again, we give you the praise and the thanks and the glory for healing her. And I ask the same for Kirby and his family as well. And Father, we just thank you and praise you for this blessed appointed time. And may you keep them in your hedge of protection 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Bless their coming in and bless their going out. And Father, may everything that they do and everything that they touch be successful. We give you the praise and the thanks and the glory forevermore in Jesus' name. May it be so.
Yes, as you say. Yeah, it is an amazing journey that everyone goes through in their life. And if they just
everybody has it.
Hand it over. That's the weird part that's so hard for people to do when you've been controlled by somebody or something, and you think there's just hand it over. Stop. You can't fix it yourself. You can't do it yourself. Hand it over and leave it alone.
I'm in total agreement. Agreement, and we praise God for it. And so, see, you have quite a story that I wasn't even aware of. And so we see
I don't let it out.
And I'm glad you brought it up.
It's not something.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up.
But I want people to know, as you do, as you have, and the people close to me know, and the people I've helped throughout my life with the paranormal and beyond that, they know. I share openly. It's not something I'm proud of. And as you say, I've forgiven him. Never forget, but I have forgiven him. But I didn't do it for him. I did it for me. And took care of him. You helped to take care of him in his last years. But it's a hard battle to understand why, as a child, that you're going through that. You don't understand, but and as you said, I think the stronger people come from the hardest battles. And so,
no question.
No question there is
about
a point
it. And this
when
is how God will work through us to help others.
Yeah. And there's a point when everybody that goes through something negative, anything negative, just wants to say, well, just God just let this happen. Want to do that because you get a hatefulness about you, and you have to flip that switch because it's getting you absolutely nowhere. And I refuse to be a person who was mean or negative to my babies, my children. I would protect them with my life, and they're the most, blessing I've ever had. And never had to go through what I went through. I wouldn't want them to. Why would anybody want anyone else to do that?
May they never.
Never. No. They're grown. I'm old. They're grown, and I have grandbabies that are that are teenagers, and they're beautiful. And it's just breaking that chain. People, please just break that chain of negativity, and make yourself more and better. Yeah, I just can't. It's an emotional thing for me.
But praise God. We praise God all the way because He is in control, and He does love us, and He does have a plan for us, and He does show mercy to us, and He is there when we call on Him. And I just want more people to understand this, that our glorious God is there. He does love us, and He does His part. His part, He's the creator of everything, including us. And His part is that He will be a loving Father to us when we call on Him. He gave us free will, so we're free to do and to make choices, and that's why there is an adversary to man, because of our free will. And I'm certain that He hopes that we always make the right choices, but we're human beings, and sometimes we don't make the right choice. And so with that, our job in helping us to make the right choice is to remain in strong faith, strength, and courage. And if we do these things, that means that we are setting ourselves up for success. That means that we know that God is with us and for us. And if God is with us and for us, then nothing can stand against us. So this is warrior mode. That's what I call it, warrior mode 24/7.
Yeah.
And being in that warrior mode, I refuse to lose. Does it mean my life is perfect? No, but it means my life is very good and very blessed. Therefore, I have to walk in that faith, strength, and courage every day of my life because I have to be somebody to somebody every day. And so if I know that God's with me and for me, then with God being there with me and for me, again, nothing can stand against me. So we must move forward in life. And it is the devil who tries to drag us backwards because he does everything opposite to God. So
yes, stay in the light. Work in the light, stay in the light. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely right.
So how is it that you protect yourself from these negative things getting? You work with them on a daily basis, as you do, and
I sure do.
Although my father was negative, he was just a negative person. He was actually everything he did was out of a sense of not being enough because he didn't have much education. He was very insecure. I look back as an adult and I can see those things where it started. Where he started, he lived in a big family on a small, poor Arkansas. He came to California and made himself a millionaire with like a fourth grade education, a multimillionaire.
That's amazing.
Because he is an amazing man. But for the longest time, I couldn't see that part. I could only see what he had done inside closed doors. Yeah. So it took a long time. It's hard. It's hard to open up and let that healing process begin and forgive him and be that person who's going to be more than money, more than that. Because if I just get, that's how he lived. If I just get, if I just make, if I just get, if I just have, that's a never-ending battle. You're never going to have enough if you're a person like that with a big empty space to fill. You're never going to be there. So have enough where you are
totally
now.
Agree.
And I have enough now. If I get more, I love it. If I don't, I have enough now. And you coming from nothing, you had nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, you were living poor.
Yeah.
So you count your blessings every day. So to listen to other people and sometimes it's trivial to us maybe, but it's not to them. So I try to remind them, well, what are you blessed with? Stop counting all the negativity that can happen in anybody's life, and what are you blessed with? Let's flip the switch.
I totally agree.
Turn
That's
this
what my
puppy
third
around,
book.
baby.
that's what my third book, 10 Steps to Victory, is all about. 10 simple steps that you can follow to help you to stay on the right path and to help you to stay close to and with God. And I mentioned that's one of the steps to where gratitude. We need to be thankful for our blessings. Each and every day of my life, I thank God and praise God for my life. Life is a gift. We're not promised tomorrow. Life is a gift. So
I agree
we are
with that
to
completely.
Take that gift from God, the gift of life, and do the best that we can do and be the best that we can be each and every day of our life. And so in that, I not only thank God and praise God for my life, but I declare victory in each and every day of my life. Because when we say these prayers, and this is one of two prayers that I say, oftentimes I don't get to bed before 4 or 5 a.m. every morning. And so I answer messages constantly from people. I mean, after this show, I will be answering messages. And this is my life. And so no matter how tired I am, I will be, before I go to bed, I will say a spiritual warfare prayer. And then I will say my daily declaration of victory. And for anyone who would like to see those prayers or say those prayers, visit my websites, BillBean.net or BillBeanMinistries.com, and click on Powerful Prayers. They are right there. Download them, print them out, and say them. I will say them every day for the rest of my life. And the reason for that is when we are saying these things, we are invoking the power of God over our lives. And it is very important that we keep our connection with God as strong as we possibly can, because we are now living in a time like no other. And it will only be by that strong connection with God and through our faith, strength, and courage that God will get us through these things that are here and these things that are coming. He'll get us through. And we'll literally be like Daniel, how he was when he was put into the lion's den and nothing happened to him. But it's going to require tremendous faith, strength, and courage on our part.
The light at the end of the dark. That's what you are.
Absolutely.
You're the light at the end of the dark.
Well, we praise God for it. And I thank you, Sheila, and we praise God for it. And it is His calling. It is His power. It is all His glory. And I'm just thankful to be a vessel that He works through in helping others. So, in these situations, when God works through me to deliver people, and again, I've been in so many different types of situations and so many different dynamics, and a lot of the cases stem from child molestation or rapes or some sort of violent crimes or something like that, to where it's created that level of trauma in the person. And unfortunately what happens is when a perpetrator commits a wicked, heinous act like that, not only are the demons with and on the perpetrator, but then after the wicked, heinous act is committed, or while it's being committed, the demons are now like a magnet drawn to the victim. And it's because of the pineal gland that is being opened, which some people would say that's the third eye. It's the pineal gland.
Right.
When that gland is open, that is where the fear is coming from, right there, from that gland. So when that level of fear and trauma is coming out of that pineal gland, it is drawing demonic forces like a magnet, because fear is the number one thing they feed on. So it draws them right to it. And unfortunately, those demons will stay with the victim, because now they are in that fear-based, trauma-based way of thinking and living, and it requires someone like me to come along for God to work through me or someone else to free them from this bondage and from this demonic oppression in order for them to move forward. And it's the greatest thing to know that God has truly worked through me to take that from someone, and then they go on to have a wonderful quality of life and just a blessed and peaceful journey, moving past that. It is the greatest feeling in the world to know that God actually did that.
So that strange thing is, you see now that if you had had a you, as you are now, back then, because we didn't know. I mean, people didn't know, and I agree with you. They didn't talk about it. They didn't understand it, and you were fighting an unseen force with not enough knowledge or preparation, and you had to go through the negative part to get to the positive part. It's all that horrible and yet wonderful process that brings you to where you are now. But if you'd had you at that point, so it is so healing for you as well.
Here's how we can have a me in a situation going forward. I urge parents to study. You know, God says my people were destroyed for lack of knowledge. So it is important for people to thirst for knowledge, because knowledge is power. So I urge you parents out there, start studying about these things. And that saying, a family that prays together stays together, is a true saying. And get your kids involved, and husbands and fathers, you be the priest of that house, and you set the tone, and you get your kids, plant the seeds with them so they understand this, and have a faith-based structure in your home so you can avoid these types of pitfalls and situations, because I wouldn't wish any of this kind of stuff on anybody.
No, we do have a case that just came to us recently. I haven't been able to, I've talked to the person, but the child, just 5 years old, is having a shadow figure follow her around. And
not good.
I'm not positive yet. That's what I'm thinking. I'm
good at all.
5 years old is so young. That frightens me right there, because we've never had a case with a child so young. But I can feel, I have a little sensitivity or gift, that she is very sensitive to spirit, which the parents don't understand at all. They don't have the gift that she has, and she doesn't have the communication skills just yet to say what it is, to feel what it is. And she's done things like been able to pick out where her grandpa, who she never met, is, what cemetery he's in when they passed it, and actually take her father to the site. So her grandfather's trying to protect her, I feel, but this shadow thing, this is just recent. I mean, I just talked to him a few days ago.
Yeah.
I'm very worried about that. We don't have the qualifications to take on just anything, and we're not ego-driven. We are paranormal investigators primarily, and we can help with removing some spirits, but we've never dealt with a demonic. I mean, they're rare in our cases anyway.
Yes.
You know,
and,
people call you for that.
It's increasing now for several
reasons,
but yes, and I would suggest, getting that child help or having the parents contact me or something, or someone like me, maybe someone else in the area. I don't know, Jeff or somebody,
right.
but
it is Texas.
It's in. Oh, in Texas. Okay. Well, I travel there often, that's for sure. There's not one part of Texas that I haven't been to many times. And so, I love Texas, and I love the people there, and certainly our prayers still go out to the people in Houston and Galveston and Corpus Christi who were affected by the hurricane and all the flooding there and everything. And we pray that they're rebuilding, and I pray that everything is ahead of schedule there. So, but yes, if you want, yes, and we have a lot of people praying for them, and I do believe that God is going to help them to come back stronger and better than ever. And yes, if you talk with these people again or whatever, you could certainly pass my information along to them if they wanted to contact me, and I would have my assistant Melinda follow up with them and see what we can do to get the child help.
That would be great. We were just going to, get a little more information and visit, because they're not that far from us, and gather information. And I told him we don't have a plan just yet, but I would like to meet her and let her know that there's somebody on her side, somebody that she can speak to, that understands what she's going through and that sort of thing. But
Absolutely.
This thing follows her everywhere, and being so young and gifted.
Yeah.
I do believe she is
but that's
gifted.
usually where it
she
starts,
has no
though.
idea.
That's usually the age. 5 years old is usually the age where these things begin, and certainly was in my case and in many other cases as well. So 5 is a very pivotal, I can't speak now, pivotal time for, a child. Yeah, suddenly I can't speak. It's very important that the parents do get help, and whether you can, I guess it's going to require you to take a little bit of time to talk with them and get all of the details.
Yeah. I have some of the details, spoke
it's
with him
imperative
once,
that they
but
get help.
I do need to get more details. And the first thing I didn't ask because I didn't think of it, has she been baptized? Have they been baptized? Do they have a religious belief? Because not everybody is in the Christian belief, or you know what I mean. So
sure.
I need to work within their boundaries of what they believe and what they do, or bring them into a different way of thinking. One or the either, So we're still.
Well, I agree.
This just happened. Days ago. That
pray
you'd be
for
willing
this
to help
child
her.
and certainly, So please, absolutely. And I just pray that whatever's going on here, God does intervene and puts an end to this, because it does not sound good already. And I'm certain there's more to it than you don't know at this time.
Yes.
You'll find out. I'm certain that there's more to this story. So God bless that child and the family as well.
Thank you. We're going to do a little more research, but I will definitely talk to him tomorrow and give him your information, how to contact you, and any information we get, I'll pass along. But I would like to make a visit, next week, just to kind of see what's going on, because like you said, not always is it represented in the actuality of what's going on. We find that out in a lot of investigations.
Sure.
So there needs to be a little
Absolutely.
background research of what they've done, what they believe, what's going on, that I can pass on, just legwork, I would say. You'll know a little more going in. Okay.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Amazing.
It is amazing, and we praise God for it. And you know what else is amazing? We haven't heard from Kirby at all during the day. Kirby's kind of like the silent.
I know.
He's kind of in the shadows.
That's because I'm the yapper, and Kirby's the quiet man.
It's just because I'm running my mouth so much during this whole thing. There's no room for Kirby to say anything.
Well,
I'm sorry, Kirby.
Our listeners come to hear the guest,
he always,
not me.
Yeah, and you listen and learn. Kirby listens and learns.
That's right.
But he does
awesome.
ask questions. He has a voice. The funny thing is, you said that, and I say he's like a paranormal entity. Like they call the slender man, the tall man, the hat man. Kirby's the quiet man. And then when he speaks,
Kirby, right?
Yeah,
so he's like,
he's smart, man,
he's
too.
just taking everything in, and then he's like,
yes.
That's awesome. Well, God bless
we're
you
quite
guys.
the duo here.
I know it. There's no doubt about that. And I definitely look forward to coming back with you guys again for part 2, because there's a lot more. There's a lot more to talk about. There's a lot more that is going on in our world that is contributing to so many people being victimized these days. So maybe when I come back, I know we're running out of time now, and again, I want to thank you guys for having me on, but the next time maybe we can dig into some of those topics.
I would love that.
Also,
anytime. You're welcome. Absolutely anytime. And let everybody
so
know where they
Sheila.
can reach you again. Put that out there for them before we sign off. Where they can reach you, and anything you want me to post on Rogue Talk, just let me know, and I'll do that for you.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank you guys for having me on again. It's been a pleasure to have been on with you, and thank everybody out there for listening in, or if you're in the chat. And for anybody out there
we got a lot of chat
who may be in need, who may be, having any type of spiritual issues, from feeling like you're demonically oppressed, some people do get possessed, and usually that's somebody on their behalf contacting me when that happens. Or if you feel like you're under some sort of generational curse or some other type of voodoo curses or whatever it may be, God has worked through me and works through me to cover it all and to take it all. And so, if you feel like you're in that type of way, or if you want to get copies of my books, or you want to reach out in some way, just visit BillBean.net or BillBeanMinistries.com, or you can punch Bill Bean into Google and you'll get the phone book. And so I'm not hard to find, that's for sure. And so if you need help, visit the website. You can email me directly from the sites, and my assistant Melinda will get back to you, and then I will follow up with that as well. So God bless you guys and your families, and God bless everybody out there, and look forward to coming back the next time.
Thank you, Bill. It's amazing, and thank you to Jeffrey for mentioning you. I had seen you on several episodes of different shows, because even though some of them are a little hokey, a lot of them you learn information from. I mean, I never discount any of them as just being, some of the drama on some of them. It's, it is here or there, not for me to comment on, because I don't do that. But it's okay. People can sort it out. But the people that really want to learn something, they can from some of the shows, and especially the haunted series, Haunting, several of them, My Haunted House. The people that have been brought in to help, that's where I've seen you, as well as Jeffrey on Ghosts of Shepherdstown, and I know he's part of the Dominion Ministry, which I am as well, and Kirby is too, and so that brought us all together in this circle of crazy white light and friendship. Blessed be.
Well, God bless him. He's awesome,
way.
and I'm so happy for him that he's doing so well in his life now, and God is working through him to help other people. And again, it's just another testament of the power of God, and we praise God for it.
I did not know him before where he is now. I did not, I didn't know what he'd gone through. He has told me some of it, off air as well, and a lot he shares, as you do, of personal experiences and what he went through and how it attached to him and almost integrated with him, and your journey brought together. I mean, it is just perfect.
Absolutely.
As you call the perfect negative storm, the perfect evil storm. It was a perfect goodness storm, because he needed you, and there you were.
No question about it.
He didn't even know it.
It's just amazing how God brought us together in that way. And like I say, I love him dearly as a brother. He's a member of my family, and I'm proud of him. I'm so happy for him, and I'm overjoyed every time I know that he's doing well and good things are happening for him, and I praise God for that. So the next time I come back, we will talk about some of my case files, and we can also talk about several reasons why I believe that more and more people are coming under this type of demonic attack, and the devil is in the details, and we'll dig into it. And I know we're running out of time, so once again, thank you guys. God bless you both and your families.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
Until next time, I'll be looking forward to coming back.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right,
you were amazing,
Good
and
night.
you were
Oh,
great.
Thank you.
All right, you have a great night.
I appreciate it. I really do. You too. God bless you.
Bye-bye. That was amazing. It was a really crazy and wonderful and amazing show all the way around. I just got goosebumps the entire time just about with the stories he told, and I'm now totally anticipating the next one.
Oh, yeah.
Incredible. Incredible what he's been through, and I have seen some of it on television. And so if anybody needs Bill Bean's help, don't forget that name. You can find him, as he says, easily. And I will post some of the things on our Rogue Talk Radio. And Kirby and I appreciate it. Thanks, Kirby. Sorry you were quiet, man. But,
Oh, no. I was
we learned.
Taking it
That's
in.
what we're learning. And,
yeah.
You're the thinking man and the quiet man all rolled into one, and my favorite host ever.
Oh, I thank you.
Our positive energy just lights up the world, right? We're like positive jujus. Keep it going, though. Yeah.
The dynamic
All right.
duo.
Everybody, we're the countdown, 10 seconds. Bless everybody, and don't forget to listen next week. And have a great night, everyone. Love you. Bye.
Yep. Good night, all.
Bye, Curbs.
Bye.